Hello and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts, George and Maria.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the My Greek Island podcast with your host George Tsounyas
And Maria Petrakou.
So in today's episode, Santorini, we have all seen the Instagram pics of this island that has been sent from heaven, and you might be thinking, what has this got to do with Off the Beaten Track? But Maria, I actually don't want to hear how to get the best picture where there's 5,000 people trying to get that same picture. I want to know the real Santorini. So are you ready for this?
100% ready.
Okay, so let's get into today's episode.
Let's.
So, why Santorini? People are going to be thinking, why have you chosen this island?
So let's take a step back first and just say that initially when I founded My Greek Island, my dream was to show the world those less known to the broader public islands. So naturally, Santorini was not on my list. Someone will ask why. I mean, Santorini is so worldwide famous. Why don't you go and check it out? And I just kept struggling to broadcast such an island. And to be completely honest with you, until recently, I'd never actually visited it. I'd only passed by when I was leaving Naxos about 8 years ago, and the boat stopped at a port, and I remember looking up in awe saying, which island is this? And I realized it was Santorini. But then the pandemic happened. And in June 2021, when the Greek borders started opening for international flights again, I literally got on the first flight from London to Santorini and said, it's now or never. I need to experience this island before tourism starts flushing in again and discover what is off the beaten track in Santorini. So I went. I just felt this huge urge to go. I went and I had to see and experience what the island had to offer.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually know it quite well now. You've been quite a few times.
That's true. So within the past 12 months, I've been 3 times. And I already have a second trip booked towards the end of the year. And I'm pretty sure there might be a third one. And it's definitely one of the islands that I just want to go every single year. It's unexplainable. A friend of mine said to me that you don't choose Santorini. Santorini chooses you. The volcano chooses you. So I must admit, I actually feel that this island has chosen me. I just want to go back again and again and again.
Are you going to be taking me sometime?
Of course.
Yeah, I've never been to Santorini, and I always thought it's somewhere that I'd probably want to go with someone when I'm in a relationship, and it's like worthy of that. But as time's going on, I'm like, time's ticking. I just need to go to this.
Well, hon, we're not in a relationship, but I'm more than happy to take you.
Okay, cool.
And I think that experiencing Santorini with you will be an even more different experience to what I've done so far. Because, I mean, I've been 3 times already, and each trip was so different. And that's, I think, one of the charms of Santorini, that it offers such a diversity of choices, of things that you can do, but it's also simultaneously such an inclusive island.
Wow. What do you mean by inclusive? Because you were talking about this when we were preparing the podcast. What did you mean in terms of inclusive?
So Santorini is one of the most inclusive Greek islands with respect to the LGBTQ plus community.
We like that.
We do.
Yeah.
It's very friendly in that matter. But simultaneously, it's a great island for solo travelers. and especially for female solo travelers, because it's very safe. It's very, the people are very welcoming. There's so much to do, and you can it's an island that you can travel as an individual and not in a. You can travel as a couple, you can travel as a family, you can travel, but you can travel as a solo and feel that you're part of that vibe.
And you're safe.
You are very safe. And then lastly, the thing that makes it very inclusive is that year by year, Santorini is becoming more and more vegan friendly. So it's one of the islands in Greece that has a vegan only hotel.
Oh, wow.
And I've been very fortunate to have met the owners and actually stayed there on one of my 3 trips within the last 12 months. So there's a lot coming out. There's vegan only restaurants. There's lots of places that offer vegan, and I mean vegetarian. There's a lot of vegetarian dishes that are on the menu, but then there are also vegan dishes in the Mediterranean cuisine. But the fact that the island is becoming accustomed to veganism is definitely an additional reason to include a tick on with respect to inclusivity.
And I mean the vegan, the Greek cuisine. Sorry, there is a lot of vegan options that I know. When you think about Greek food, there's a lot of meat involved, but there is also a lot of alternatives and a lot of vegan options that people just don't think about. And
there are. And My Greek Island to the Rescue. There's a cheat sheet on.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, there is. There's a cheat sheet on the website which the listeners can download onto their phones. And save as a cheat sheet, which literally tells them various dishes and whether they are vegetarian or vegan, and some tips to bear in mind, because across regions, some places might make a certain dish with meat and others don't. So that is all written on the My Greek Island vegan cheat sheet. So
lovely.
My vegan friends out there, download it and save it on your phone, so that you have that when you travel to Greece.
Yeah, I feel like I might try some vegan food this year around in Greece, just to see, like, apart from the salad. Obviously, I can't have a salad without feta.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to try the alternative.
Well, so if you were in Santorini and you were at the vegan hotel, they would offer you the salad with a vegan version of feta. And because I have, my dairy intolerance, George, but I at home I only have vegan feta. So if you open my fridge right now, you will see vegan
maybe
feta.
You should.
You should.
So back to Santorini. When's the best time to visit? Because you visited 3 times, so.
Well, the best time to visit. There's no right or wrong time to visit Santorini, but what I would recommend, being my personal favorite time to visit the island, is September, October, and I would actually say mid-September to the end of October. So Santorini is one of the islands that you can visit nearly all year round. I mean, last year I went in November and I had a blast. But having said that, you can go in November, but you need to bear in mind that the island is not fully functional.
Okay.
So for me, I think the best time is September, October. Why? Because you avoid the peak. You also avoid the excessive heat. So peak season is June to August, but that's also the hottest time. Now, I know that Santorini has beaches, but it's one of the islands that offers so much more than the beaches. And I'm actually going to tell you something that I'm quite embarrassed about.
I think I know.
You do. I've only been to the beach once in Santorini, and I've spent probably 20 days accumulated in total there. And that was when I trekked. So it's when I went on I went on a hike, and during the hike, and I'll talk about this later, during the hike we passed 2 beaches, and at one of the beaches we just jumped in. But otherwise, I've actually never been to the beach in Santorini because I'm always eating and drinking and doing other things.
I'm shocked. I mean, anytime I'm at an island, every day is a beach day, unless it's raining.
And
even if it's raining.
Yeah, but you've been with me on holidays in other islands, and I'm such a beach bum.
Yeah, you were just all consumed by Santorini and just was like, beach, no.
So so I would say the best time is mid-September to late October. It's not as hot. You can walk around comfortably because you'll want to walk around in Santorini. There's a lot to see, and the various villages that you can visit, and the capital Fira of the island, you'll want to walk around. So you'll want to walk around comfortably, not sweating as much as you would in the other months. And it's quite hilly. There's lots of steps as well, so it's a bit hilly. So you'll want to be more comfortable. And I'm just going to caveat here: you will see donkeys on the island. Let's be friendly and not use them to transfer our luggage and ourselves.
Do they do that?
They do.
Oh,
Unfortunately, they do. No, we're not a fan of that. I think one thing that we haven't mentioned is the fact that it's a very easily accessible island.
Yeah, I was going to say, does it differ in terms of, you talked about the best time to go when it's peak or off-peak. Does accessibility vary?
You have direct flights. So I'm going to talk about London now, where I've travelled multiple times, 3 times from London to Santorini. So, for example, British Airways flies from approximately March until the end of October. That's quite a big season.
Yeah, that is actually.
To be flying direct. So last year, when on my second trip to Santorini, I flew direct from London to Santorini with British Airways. And on the way back, there's a plane passing over my apartment right now. Is that British Airways going to Santorini? Maybe it is. British Airways, you need to sponsor this podcast.
Yeah, hashtag not sponsored. You might get in trouble to be like...
On the way back, I flew via Athens with Aegean Airlines. If there's no direct flight, so an internal flight from Santorini to Athens, and then from Athens to your final destination. One thing to note here, and I don't know if you were going to mention it, but the island is actually not called Santorini.
Yes, I forgot to mention that in the intro. Yeah, you caught me out. Fun fact, the island of Santorini is actually called Thira, and it's an island, there's a cluster of islands, of which only 2 are inhabited. So we've got Thira, also known as Santorini, and then was Therasia, and there's another few islands that escaped me that are uninhabited. Can you visit the uninhabited ones?
So you can go on a boat tour around them. One is the volcano which you can visit and is, I think it's active in a specific part. So you can go with a boat. Thirasia you can visit, which is inhabited. But so don't be confused if you've got a boat ticket or a flight to Santorini and you see, usually what happens is it writes Santorini in brackets. It says,
I never knew.
Yeah. So don't be confused. The island is actually not called Santorini. In the past, prior to the volcanic eruption, it used to be one single
big island.
Round island, which was called Strongili, which is the Greek word for round. But then over the passage of the years, I think something to do with the Italians, and that there was a church, Saint Irene, and then it sort of ended up Santorini.
I can see how that has evolved. That is so cool. Also to note, in terms of accessibility, there's plenty of internal flights from Athens. So anyone coming from all over the world to Athens, and then you can hop on a flight. It's like 20 minutes. It's so quick.
It is. It's about half an hour, and that's another amazing thing. So the months that you don't have direct flights from your potential destination, you definitely have internal flight from Athens, especially Athens. And I'm sure there's other destinations during other months of the year, but all year round you have flights from Athens and I think Thessaloniki, so the 2 main cities of Greece.
Amazing. So for those listeners that it's going to be their first time visiting Santorini, there's a bit of a beginner's sort of what you need to do. We've come up with a list of things that I think we're going to talk about, what there is to do, starting off with the sunset. But it's not just about the sunset in Santorini, is it?
It's not. You need to see the sunset in Santorini at least once in your life.
But also the
sunrise.
The sunrise for those early birds.
Yeah. So what I would recommend, and what I have done twice out of the 2 trips, yes, watching the sunset is absolutely amazing. it's usually the most popular spot on the island to watch the sunset is from the castle of Ia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk
Yeah,
about
spell Oia,
Yeah.
which is pronounced Ia in Greek. So the Oi is an E sound in Greek. That's a bit technical, but yeah. We might offer Greek lessons if this podcast takes off.
Then during the peak season, you need to get there really early in order to get a good spot to see the sunset. And you know that I'm not a fan of like overpopulated places and like, oh, come on. So there's other spots of the island to see the sunset. And what I do is I wake up early and go to Ia because you can get an amazing sunrise from Ia as well. So I will do sunrise in Ia when people do go and watch the sunrise, but simultaneously you've got so many people that won't wake up. So it's a very, very small crowd heading to Ia to watch the sunrise. So I take advantage of that. And then I will watch the sunset from another location where you can equally see a lovely sunset. And I'm going to share one of them. So it's literally on the exact other side of the island called Potírι. There's a lighthouse there. You will see people gathering there as well. So it's like it's not a hidden spot, but it's definitely not the crowd that you will see in Ia.
So for those of you listening, hope you got your pen ready or ready to pause it. So that was Potírι, which is in Ia.
No, it's literally on the other side of the island.
Oh, other side of the island. Oh,
Yes.
okay. So we're driving or transport or whatever. Okay. And in your opinion, because Santorini is famous for its sunset, on the spot now, is it the best sunset in Greece?
I think it's one of the most iconic sunsets. And the reason being that the sky becomes a canvas to these amazing colors. And unless you see it, you can't comprehend how beautiful it is. I've seen beautiful sunsets in my life, but Santorini does have one of the best.
Okay, so it is all it's cracked up to be.
The island is every time you will go, you will say, wow, like the way it's built, the cave houses, the villages, like the stuff that you will see, it's a wow island. It's not by chance that it has the reputation that it has.
So some of the villages you mentioned, they're a bit wow. Can you give me one or two villages that you think would be worth a visit?
Definitely. So the two that are my favorite are Pyrgos, which I've stayed at twice, 2 times of the 3 trips that I've done, and Megalochori. Now, Pyrgos I think it's one of the few. It has a lot of character because the Megalochori that I mentioned also has a lot of character, but it's like a little island itself. So there's little narrow streets and you go up to the castle. There's a castle on top. There's churches. The houses, the accommodation that you can get in Pyrgos is absolutely beautiful. And this is where you want to stay if you ever visit Santorini during the Greek Orthodox Easter.
Oh, nice. Why is that?
So what they do is they put candles in tin cans.
Oh, wow.
In the entire village, and you can see it throughout from the entire island because because Pyrgos is also quite high up, so you can see it anyway.
It means
during
tower,
the day.
doesn't it, in Greek?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely stunning. The village is just lit up.
Wow.
The entire village is lit up, so it's gorgeous to stay there. And then the second one that I said is Megalochori, which is one of my favorite little villages. It's got so much character. It's got a traditional coffee shop that you can have coffee and I've posted quite a lot about this one on social media and have like a typical spoon sweet.
Well, what's your social media handle for those that don't know on Instagram?
At My Greek Island.
Okay, good.
And there's a church which has the bells of the church.
Okay, yeah, the bells of the church, yeah.
They're sort of over the street of Megalochori, so you go under them.
Oh, wow.
And it's such a nice
photo opportunity.
Definitely an Instagrammable spot in the island in this village. So it's such a beautiful traditional village, very, very different to the rest of what you will see in the main spots of Santorini.
And one thing I learned that you like to do in Santorini, and maybe you took inspiration from some of our previous holidays, was a bit of hiking.
That's very true.
The adventurous side of you came out.
That is.
So tell us of a hike.
So the Santorini, the great way to see the island is through hiking, and I think one of the best routes is to hike from Fira to Ia. So you're literally trekking from Fira, the capital, to the edge of the island where you can see the epic sunset, and that's one of the best ways to see the island.
How long would that take?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Did you do it?
I've done it, but I didn't do that route.
Oh.
I've done another route, which is much more off the beaten track, but much more rustic, and not one that I would recommend to someone unless they like treks and hikes. So I've done like the red beach, the white beach, and then gone through the village of Potήρι, and I've literally done the complete other side of the island, which I loved. But if you want to see stuff, then the other one is a more iconic route.
Yeah. And, disclaimer, if you're doing it in the middle of summer, make sure, you take enough liquid, water, you know where you're going.
There's also a lot of guides that actually will take you and show you the routes. And that's, I think, the best way to do it, because they'll take you to some hidden gems that you can see during the hike.
Okay, so no trip to any Greek island, let alone Santorini, would be worth a visit without talking a bit on the gastronomy, and more importantly in Santorini, the winery and their wines that they make. So how did you find that experience? Because I know you're
I do like my food.
You like your food and you like your wine.
I love my wine.
Love your wine. So tell us about it.
So first of all, touching on the gastronomy, which will then combine with the wine. If you're a foodie, Santorini has you covered. 100%.
But Greece has you covered.
But Santorini is on another level.
Okay.
It's such good food. Such good food. And there's just so much to offer. And I don't even know how many restaurants I would list as my favorite. And I still have such a long bucket list of restaurants that I've not yet been to.
What's the price range though?
You can get
everything.
Practically everything.
Okay.
So there's been times when I've had breakfast and I've paid, oh my God, 35 euros for breakfast, which is very expensive for a breakfast.
Yeah.
What
was it? Was it in gold or what?
No.
What did you eat, hun?
It was the location. It was the location.
Okay, location.
It was the presentation. The food was very good. But you do pay a premium to eat in Santorini and to stay in Santorini.
But I guess you can also just go to the bakery and get a little,
You
Greek.
don't have to go to the bakery. There's many places. So, for example, for breakfast in Birgos, there's a great place that does breakfast. So you will have a fantastic breakfast for very reasonable prices. In Potήρι, there is an amazing place where you can go for breakfast and for afternoon cocktails, but it's more with the locals.
Yeah.
There's definitely places to go, and then for lunch and dinner, oh my God, the long list of restaurants that you can go to, and the price ranges, the prices will vary from place to place. So you can have a very expensive dinner in Santorini, or you can have, so for example, there's a restaurant that does a tasting menu in Santorini, and I think the last time I was looking at it, because I was planning on going on my previous visit, it just didn't work out. I think it was something like 150 per person, and that was without the wine pairing. So you can go overboard if you want to, but then there's restaurants where you'll pay the average price that you would pay on any island, like 20, 30 per head, and have a very nice meal with a drink.
Yeah.
But they have very good food. Okay. Very, very good food. And I think I'm just going to mention one of my favorites, which is close to the village of Birgos, very reasonably priced, definitely needs a reservation, but the food is epic, and it's called Metaximas.
Μεταξύ μας, which means between us.
Between us, amongst us.
Amongst us, yeah. So what about the wineries and the vino?
So the wineries in Santorini, do not miss the wineries. I think it's actually...
It's quite amazing how the wine's made.
It's such a highlight of Santorini, and there's quite a few. Now, the island is very known for its production of... The most famous production, I guess, would be Visanto, which is made from a late harvest of sun-dried white grapes, aged for at least 2 years in oak. And then you also have Asirtiko, which is a white wine. It's very fresh and it has a very volcanic character to it. So it's a very distinct wine. If you taste it, you will know that you're drinking Asirtiko.
I've seen the documentary on how they make it, and it's pretty amazing.
And the one interesting thing about the way the wine is produced there is because the island is very windy.
Mm-hmm.
The vineyards are not growing upwards.
Oh yeah, this is what I saw in the documentary. They grow like down.
So when the tree is young, they sort of blend it into what is called a gulura, which means
like a circle thing.
It's a circle thing.
Circular.
And the grapes actually grow on the ground, so it's very, very close to the soil. And rustic, I wouldn't say rustic.
Okay. That's the word that came to my mind.
But it's definitely unique to see the way that the grapes grow in the vineyards. And the reason that they do that is so that they're not impacted by the wind. And there is... So for those of you that love your coffee table books, the very unique books.
Oh, yeah.
A very famous Greek master of wine called Yannis Karakasis, I think about a year ago, published a book called The Wines of Santorini. It's an absolutely epic book.
Have you bought it? Is it on your shelf?
It's not yet.
Not yet.
It's not yet because I haven't managed to find a copy of it. I've only seen copies of it. I know where they sell it, and it's definitely one that will be
on the to-do list.
Joining my coffee table soon. So definitely visit them. I'm going to mention one of my favorite wineries, which I find very unique. It's called Volcanic Slopes. And the reason I find this winery very unique is because you do vertical tasting. Now, what that means is you try, because they only produce, I think, one wine, and it's called Pure. That's the name, that's the label of the wine.
Wow.
So when you do wine tasting at this winery, you can only taste the same wine of different years. And that's what it means by vertical tasting. When you do horizontal tasting, you're tasting different wines from the same producer. When you're doing vertical tasting, you're tasting the same wine from different years. And it's an absolutely interesting experience.
Wow.
So yeah, that's definitely something that I recommend to do.
Very nice. I mean, that was a nice sort of things to do in Santorini. The only thing that was missing, which is not my cup of tea, but I know it's for people, I know you would like it, the museums.
Yes. So there's quite a few museums in Santorini, and I'm going to give a shout out to two of them, which I found the most interesting on the island, because I think I've been to the majority of them. Now, one thing that's definitely a fun fact to mention is that Santorini is, apart from the wine, apart from the views, the volcano, all of that
jazz,
Santorini is also famous for being one of the 5 destinations in the world where it is believed that the lost Atlantis was.
Okay.
So there is a very new museum in Santorini called the Lost Atlantis Experience, which is based on modern technology. Not my cup of tea. However, I was very taken by this museum. I was just like, wow, this is just amazing. So at this museum, it will take you on a journey and help you live the myth, and showing you why Santorini is believed to be the lost Atlantis. So it's very interesting. Then the second one I'm going to give a shout out to is the fact that Santorini is very well known, other than the wine and all of the rest that we've spoken about already. it's very well known for the small fruited tomato. It's called the Santorini tomato. And in the past, the island would produce a very premium tomato puree. Now, the old factory that would produce the tomato puree in Santorini, it's no longer produced there, it's produced somewhere else, is located in Vlichada, and it's the old tomato factory of Dimitris Nomikos. And it offers an audio tour in 5 different languages and will walk you through the history of the production of the tomatoes. So if you have children, it's an amazing experience for the children, because at the end you also get a tin and you get to put your own label of the tomato puree on the tin.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already been sold for Santorini. The only thing that we would be doing would be exploring a bit more the sea.
Yeah.
But everything else, amazing.
And I'm pretty sure that we'll be on one of the treks.
How many days for all of that?
Oh, I'd say minimum of 5.
5.
I think you need 5 days to experience a good amount of all of this.
Amazing. So, as with every podcast, before we close, we have our Greek phrase of the week. And this week, given that we've talked a lot about wine, the Greek phrase is going to be, if you're sitting in a cafe, in a restaurant, in a bar, and you want to have a glass of wine, you would say, ένα ποτήρι κρασί, παρακαλώ.
Yeah.
Which means a glass of wine, please. So that is, you do it first, and then I will do it.
Amazing.
Go on then.
Ένα ποτήρι κρασί, παρακαλώ.
That's really good pronunciation.
I know.
So it's ένα ποτήρι κρασί, παρακαλώ.
Should we also add if they want a white glass of wine? Because, I mean, it is known for its white wine, right?
Yes. So what would white wine be?
Lefkó κρασί.
Lefkó κρασί. Bravo, Maria. Well done, Maria.
Thank
that was
you,
good.
George. And I'm just going to add that there is a dedicated post for vegan Santorini and all of the vegan-friendly places in Santorini. And I will also add, just before we close, another tip, that some of the wineries in Santorini, with the most famous being Hatzidakis winery, have unfiltered wine. Now that means that if it's unfiltered, it's also vegan.
Oh, amazing.
So they even have you covered when it comes to wine.
Okay.
So definitely check out the post on vegan Santorini, which I have on the blog, that will help you navigate through Santorini if you're vegan.
Amazing. So,
and definitely get back to us if you do any of the recommendations and let us know how you found them.
yeah. So that comes to the end of another episode.
Now, you know the drill. If you like this episode, don't forget to like and share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to press that subscribe button so you're notified every time a new episode comes out. And if you have any suggestions or requests for future episodes, make sure you get in touch.
Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta leme.